Prabhupada Maharaj already covered till 346, and today I'm reading 347 and 348. Let me recite the verses. Shama avadatam virajam prashanta arunalocanam durbhischaturбhirviditam pita kosham barena cha. Shama avadatam virajam prashanta arunalocanam durbhischaturбhirviditam pita kosham barena cha. Synonyms. Shama avadatam, beautiful with the black color. Virajam, formed of pure goodness. Prashanta, peaceful. Aruna, reddish. Lochana, eyes. Durbhi, by the arms. Chaturbhi, four. Viditam, being recognized. Pita, yellow. Kausha, silken. Ambarena, with the garments. Cha, and. Translation. The Lord's body is blackish, but is eternal, full of bliss and knowledge, and very, very beautiful. His eyes are always peaceful, and they are reddish like the rising morning sun. I could immediately recognize him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead by his four hands, different symbolic representations, and yellow silk garments. Let me read the next one too. Vama urau adishitya Dakshinangri Saroruham Apashitarbakashvatama Akrasham Tektapipalam Vama Urau Adishitya Dakshinangri Saroruham Apashita Arbakashvatama Akshrasham Tektapipalam Vame. On the left, Urau, thigh, Adishritya, placed on Dakshinangri Saroruham, the right lotus foot, Apashrita, taking rest against, Arbaka, young, Ashwatthama, banyan tree, Akrasham, cheerful, Tyakta, having left, Pippalam, household comforts. Translation. The Lord was sitting, taking rest against a young banyan tree, with his right lotus foot on his left thigh. And although he had left all household comforts, he looked quite cheerful in that posture. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. According to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakura, the Lord sitting posture, keeping his back against the newly grown banyan tree, is also meaningful. Ashwatha, the banyan tree, is also called because the tree does not die very quickly. It continues to live for many, many years. His legs and their energies are the material ingredients, which are 5 in all: earth, water, fire, air, and sky. The material energies represented by the banyan tree are all products of his external potency and are therefore kept to his back. And because this particular universe is the smallest of all, the banyan tree is therefore designated as small or as a child. Takta Pippalam indicates that he had now finished his pastime in this particular small universe, but since the Lord is absolute and eternally blissful, there is no difference between his living or accepting something. The Lord was now prepared to leave this particular universe and go into another, just as sun rises on one particular planet and sets in another simultaneously, but does not change its own situation. Om Ajnanaatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitanena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamayam Dadati Swa Padantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shiyuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamsya Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Mitamcha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Runda Vaneshwari Rishabhano Stute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्ण प्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनी इति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधार श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। Okay, you can hear me, right?
Yes, Prabhu, we can hear you.
Okay. Hare Krishna devotees, please welcome to Srimad Bhagavatam class. I seek blessing from Guru Maharaj, Sri Krishna, and all assembled devotees so that I can speak something meaningful. Um, so these two verses are really beautiful and elegant verses just before Lord Krishna departure. Earlier in this chapter, Uddhava and Vidura were discussing how Yadus left this world, how they got intoxicated and how they fought each other and things like that. Now their discussion has shifted from the departure of Yadus to the departure of Lord Krishna. In the fourth verse, Krishna tells Uddhava to go to Badrikashram because there he could associate with the devotees of Narayan, and in their association he could increase his eagerness for chanting, hearing, knowledge, and detachment. That's what the fourth verse says. Uddhava is very close to Krishna, and Krishna also liked Uddhava very much. So Krishna wants Uddhava to avoid the distress that is going to come. That is destruction of Yajus dynasty and disappearance of the Lord himself. Uh, so Krishna didn't want Uddhava to see all these things. He didn't want him to be in distress. So he asked Uddhava to leave Dwarka and go to Badrikashram. If you see, Krishna always given a very good advice to Uddhava. Uh, you know, Uddhava is a great Vaishnava. He had, very good knowledge of all scriptures, and Krishna knew that he is a great Vaishnava. So he wanted him to, other than knowledge, he wanted him to have the taste of unique, unequal love. Yesterday Maharaj was talking about this. Um, uh, so having this unique, unequal love, which is the above knowledge, right? If you have all the knowledge without the love for Krishna, what is the use of that knowledge, right? So Krishna wanted Uddhava to get the taste of real love. So he sends him to Raja, and he gives him the task of consoling Yashodamaya, Gopis, and Gopas. uh, Uddhava initially, since he is very knowledgeable and he knows everything, he thinks that he can, go there, go to Vrindavan and convince people with his knowledge. And Krishna gives him a letter, and when he gives him the letter, he says, when you see Yashoda Maya, you just read this letter. And when you see gopis, you just read this letter. But when once you give this letter, they will read it and they will, ask many questions. So when they ask any question, you just read this letter again. Don't use your intelligence to convince them. That's what he gives that instruction to Uddhava. And he also says, when you see gopas, um, leave them as they are. Don't talk to them. Okay, these are the instruction Krishna gives to Uddhava. And when Uddhava goes to Vrindavan, he sees Yashoda Maya and all the gopis, and they are all burning in separation of Krishna. So when he sees Yashoda Maya, she is not thinking like, Krishna left me and I am suffering. She is thinking like, Krishna may be suffering over there in Mathura. What will he do there, and who will feed him? He may be hungry. He only eats my food, my butter. What will he eat? So she is always worried of Krishna. She used to cook a variety of food stuff every day, thinking that Krishna would come back today hungry. And she is not thinking about herself anytime. She is always thinking about Krishna. And after that, when he met gopis, he also saw the same thing. That gopis are thinking like he will not be happy there, and he was getting happiness only by associating with us. How will he get happiness? He may be sad over there. By thinking that they were always crying, thinking of Krishna, he may be unhappy in Mathura and Dwarka. So after that, he sees gopas. Gopas are also like that. They think like he doesn't have friends with whom he is going to play. They miss him so much that they started seeing Krishna in other friends, and then they were thinking that other gopas are like Krishna only, and then it's kind of they got illusion, and they started treating other friends as Krishna, and they started playing with them. So that's why Krishna says, you don't have to worry about gopas. They are fine. That's why Krishna says, don't talk to them. And when Uddhava sees all these things, he actually runs into a problem. Like, for example, say if somebody is crying for some material things, you can use your spiritual knowledge and then pacify him. Like, this is all temporary. You have a higher taste, something like that. You can use the spiritual knowledge and pacify somebody. But if somebody is crying for Krishna, for that somebody may be your son or daughter, or your spouse, if they are constantly crying 24/7, right, for Krishna, then how will you pacify them? Even in Bhakti Yoga, we want to have that kind of mood that, we want to cry for Krishna. And if somebody is literally doing it, how will you pacify? Are you going to say that, this mood is good and go ahead and try? You don't want to say that. And in the same time, you cannot say that, stop praying, right? When you say stop praying, what will you say? Right? The same thing, in the same situation, same situation, Uddhava comes and he thinks, I'm not able to pacify gopis, and what is the use of my knowledge, right? That's why he thinks my knowledge is not useful here to pacify gopis, Yashoda Maya. So he realizes that real test of love is separation. So in this way, Krishna helped him understand the love of a Godhead is more than the knowledge, right? In the same way, Krishna is telling Uddhava to go to Badrikashram here in this verse, because he could associate with devotees of Naranarayan, and then he can increase his eagerness for chanting and hearing. Um, actually, if you see, he is giving a service, but actually, Krishna's intention is he doesn't want him to be in that distress. I mean, the what is going to come very soon. So now, After hearing that, Krishna leaves there, and Uddhava does something interesting. No, instead of following Krishna's instruction, he quietly follows him towards the bank of river Saraswati. Um, but when on first glance, this may seem like Uddhava is disobedient. Who he is the minister of Dwarka. We may wonder why Uddhava is not going to Badrikashram as Krishna instructed him. Why he is following him instead, right? Actually, Krishna tells him to leave Dwarka because Krishna doesn't want him to undergo distress, which is about to happen. But real distress for a devotee is leaving Krishna, right? That is why Uddhava quietly follows Krishna because devotee can't bear um, separation from the Lord. So finally, when he reaches the bank of Saraswati, he finally sees Krishna there sitting under the banyan tree. So, in the seventh verse, we go to seventh verse. In the seventh verse, it is said, "Shama avadatam," beautiful with the black color, virajam, formed of pure goodness, prashanta aruna lochanam, peaceful reddish eyes, Dorbi Chaturbhi Viditam, be he is he is displaying the forearm form and Pita Kausha Ambarenacha. His bodily beauty is Pita Kausha Ambarenacha, meaning he is wearing yellow silk garment. Basically here Uddhava he is glorifying Krishna's bodily feature. Um, there are many scripture that it glorifies Krishna's bodily feature. One of them is in Brahma Samhita. It says Barahavatam Samasitam Buddha Sundarangam, right? It says his body, the figure of his body is tinged with the hue of blue cloud. For devotees, they see that this blue is, they feel like, tranquility, serenity, and happiness, right? So, in my office, I was talking to my UX engineer, and I was asking, in many logos, you would see blue color there, right? So I was asking why, people use blue color in many of the logos. He was saying that blue represents happiness and peacefulness, right? So even non-devotees also have this conception of blue color represents happiness and peacefulness, right? So I was listening to one of the lecture from Rompad Maharaj, and somebody asked, why is Krishna blue? Maharaj says, because Krishna is master of all rasas. When you put all rasas together, sum of all rasas is blue, Shama Sundara, right? So that's really nice to know. Coming this, in Brahma Samhita, Brahma also glorifies his bodily beauty. He says, let me go there. Venam Kanantam Arvinda Dalayataaksham Barhavatam Samathitambuda Sundarangam Kandarpa Koti Kamaniya Vishesha Shobham Govinda Adipurusham Tamaham Pajami. So let me read this translation. This is really beautiful. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who is adept in playing on his flute, with blooming eyes like lotus petal, with a head decked with a peacock feather, with the figure of beauty tinged with the hue of blue clouds, and his unique loveliness charming millions of cupids. Right? This is just a brief dive into Krishna's beauty. His beauty is such that he charms millions of cupid. um, Coming back to seventh verse, in the seventh verse it said Virajam Prashantam, right? Virajam means formed of pure goodness. Prashanta is peaceful. Why Uddhava is talking about these two words here? Because um, now Krishna is departing this world, but still he is not disturbed, or he doesn't have any attachment. He is very calm and peaceful. That's what he wanted to say. And Brahma also says in the Brahma Samhita, Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha. He has an eternal, blissful, spiritual body, right? And then Uddhava goes on and he says, Aruna Lochanam, right? Aruna Lochanam means reddish eye. No, his eyes are always peaceful and reddish like morning sun. Now we can approximate the beauty of rising morning sun. Now we can imagine the beauty of redness around Krishna's eye. If we are still not able to imagine, then we can look at the eyes of Jagannath, right? Jagannath eyes have a thick reddish tinge, like rising morning sun around his eyes, right? So eyes looks very peaceful. And then Uddhava says, Dhopi Chaturbi Vididatam. He was displaying 4 arms. When Krishna descended on this earth as son of Devaki, he came with 4 arms, with all Shankha, Chakra, Gada, Padma, right? Now, while leaving this earth also, he is displaying the same form. So this 7th verse basically, it talks about bodily feature, but the 8th verse glorifies his renunciation. Let's go to 8th verse. It says, Oma Urau Adishritya Dakshinangri Saroruham. Basically, this means he has placed his right foot on his left thigh. And what he is doing here is, apashita, he is taking rest. How he is taking rest is, says that apashita arbaka ashwattama, meaning he is leaning against a young banyan tree. Here, arbaka has 2 meanings actually. One is foolish and the other one is young child. Since a tree Ashwatthama comes next to arbaka, it is said here as a young tree. And the last line is Akrasham Jakta Pippalam. Jakta Pippalam means he left all household comfort. Still, he was, cheerful. In Ishopanishad, we know that Isha Vashamidam Sarvam Etkincha Jagatyam Jagat. Yeah, so there it says everything animate and inanimate that is within this universe is controlled and owned by the Lord. And also we know that from Bhagavad Gita, Sarva Loka Maheshwaram, he is the controller of all universe. So he is the proprietor of entire universe, but still he is leaving everything. That shows his renunciation, right? So, and this verse talks about 3 things. They are, what is the significance of the banyan tree, and what is the significance of leaning on the banyan tree, and why banyan tree is called as young, arbaka. So let's look at what is the significance of a banyan tree. We know, banyan tree has a special meaning in Bhagavad Gita, right? In 15.2, let me read the translation here. The branches of this tree extend downwards and upwards, nourished by the 3 modes of material nature. The twigs are the objects of senses. This tree also has roots going down, and these are bound to the fruitive action of human society. And if in the purport, second para actually gives more information. Prabhupada gives more information here. Let me read second para here. The twigs of the trees are considered to be the sense objects. By development of the different modes of nature, we develop different senses. And by the senses, we enjoy different varieties of sense objects. The tips of the branches are the uh, senses, the ear, nose, eyes, etc., which are attached to the enjoyment of different sense objects. The twigs are sound, form, touch, and so on, the sense object. The subsidiary roots are attachments and aversions, which are byproducts of different varieties of sufferings and sense enjoyment. The tendencies towards piety and impiety are considered to develop from these secondary roots, which spread in all directions. The real root is from Brahmaloka, and other roots are in the human planetary system. After one enjoys the results of virtuous activities in the upper planetary system, he comes down to this earth and renews his karma or fruitive activities for promotion. This planet of human being is considered the field of activity, right? So now, if you look at this verse, it says he is sitting under the banyan tree, which signifies that he is in this material world. Next, this verse says that he is leaning against the banyan tree, right? So the meaning, the tree, the meaning of this is the tree is supporting the Lord. It indicates that Maya or material nature stands behind the Lord, right? Also, since he is leaning on this banyan tree, he is facing away from the banyan tree. So, the meaning is he is least bothered by the material nature, and also he is least bothered about the material nature. Now, if we read Bhagavad Gita 15.3, Krishna says, instead of figuring out this complicated branch, go to the root and cut the root with the weapon of detachment, right? So, you see, this where Krishna is giving giving us a moral of how to detach. Uh, this verse has a problem statement, like it is talked about a banyan tree, that is material existence. So we have been jumping from the branch to branch to satisfy our senses since time immemorial, and also this verse gives the solution, that is detachment, as shown by the Lord Krishna himself. Detach from this banyan tree, meaning show your back to the banyan tree, uh, get detached from material world by even being in this material world, right? But how he is showing detachment? He is showing detachment by smiling. Um, he is a husband of so many wives. He is a king of Dwarka. Opulence of Dwarka is innumerable. He left everything in a second. He is showing us the process of detachment here. And also, sorry. I was thinking about Lord Rama when Kaikai asked him to, leave palace and go to forest for 14 years. Very next moment he says, okay. He didn't even ask why. That is that shows the renunciation, how he is detached from this material world, right? And next one is what is significance of leaning on the banyan tree? So, I mean, I was looking at Bhagavatam 7th chapter, 4th verse. It says, Apashyata Purusha Purnam Mayam cha tad apashrayam, meaning Lord is Purusham Purnam. He is a complete personality, he is a complete man. And Maya standing behind him as a shadow. Mayam cha tad apashrayam, right? So this verse is also saying the same thing. Maya or material nature, which is representing banyan tree here, standing behind the Lord, because the Lord is leaning on the banyan tree. That is why Lord Krishna is leaning against the tree. And also here, the banyan tree is called Yang Arbaka. Right? Since this universe is the smallest universe out of all universe, it's called Arbaka, Ashwatthama, young banyan tree. And here one important thing is Jakta Pippalam. Importance of Jakta Pippalam is it indicates he is ready to finish his pastime in this universe and move to the next universe. Lord's Leela is Nitya Leela. He finishes his pastime in one place and continues his Leela in some other place, right? That's why it is said Jakta Pippalam. So, I mean, what I understand from this verse is it talks about the problem, as I said earlier, that banyan tree represents the material existence, material nature. We have been jumping from one branch to another to satisfy our senses since time immemorial. At the same time, this verse also talks about solution, detachment from the banyan tree. It's like show your back to banyan tree, meaning that detached from the material world, even by being in this material world. That's what I understood from here. Oh, I think I ran over the time. Okay, that's all I had, devotees. If you have any comments or if you want to add anything, please go ahead. I think if you don't have anything, we can stop here.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. You want
Thank
to
you.
end here?
What is that?
Yeah, go ahead, Prabhu.
No. I was actually not running here and there. I could not focus. But main thing, I think I was hearing when you were explaining about the color, Krishna's color, Shyam Sundara. Right. I was also thinking. I mean, I think it's not a black actually. It's like a bluish. Right.
Yeah,
So, yeah. I think the other way. Yeah. I think I remember that he's the what do you call, not source, combination of the
all
some
the
some
rasas.
yeah, some of all the rasas. I mean, yeah, that's how he's blue.
Yeah, that I did know that, Prabhupada Maharaj was
Saying
saying that
something
in one of his class. Yeah, that is something new.
regarding this banyan tree, Prabhu. I think if I understood, maybe hearing bits and pieces. So I mean, from Bhagavad Gita you're comparing it, right? Krishna is leaning there. I mean,
Yes, yeah. Banyan tree in Bhagavad Gita, it said that banyan tree is material nature, and
reverse,
here
yeah.
he is
Mm,
leaning on that, meaning he is showing his back to banyan tree. That means he is. I mean, Maya is standing behind him, right?
mm,
And since he is showing his back, he's least bothered about material nature,
mm.
right?
Yes. Oh, any comments? Any comments?
Any other comments?
Yeah, devotees got dropped. I think right. I think,
Yeah, I think I went over time. Sorry about that.
thank you, Prabhu.
Okay. वंशकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो हरे कृष्ण